All right. I think I did the countdown already, and images are looking good. I don't have any funky things going on here. So, hello everyone. This is Jack McCoy with our continuing um, YouTube channel called Singerman USA, and we host interviews of talented people who are singers to shed light on people who are interested in singing and kind of benefit from other people's experiences. And even if you're new or you're looking for a tune-up or new direction, that kind of thing, this would be something of interest to you. And this is take two on Valerie Walker here. This is Valerie Walker, and we unfortunately I'm not a techno geek kind of guy, so our first thing crashed and burned because I basically wasn't reading my instrument panel properly, and so this time appears that we're okay. We finally got rescheduled, and hopefully, lightning will strike twice because we had a really good interview last time. I'm real sorry it didn't work out. But anyway, everybody, this is Valerie Walker, and she's a very versatile uh, singer and performer, and she does really a lot of things. Even since we talked last time, she's had some more things under her belt. But to start off this thing, usually I like to kind of start from the beginning, kind of how you more or less got into singing, kind of some of your early experiences you learned from, training you got, and that kind of thing. Because I know you had a pretty early start in performing. You were pretty young. And in part, this is part because I consider people like Valerie a born of a royal family, which is to say, when you have parents that are really engaged in the arts, you're in very fertile ground. And that doesn't necessarily mean, that you're going to make it. That just means you have the right kind of interest and skills and everything that really can take advantage of that kind of a situation. And so yeah, tell us a little bit kind of how it all started for you. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just start from the beginning. Well, before I was born, I had parents, and they were both in the arts. So my mom grew up in a very musical family. Both my parents are from Los Angeles. My mom's mom, so my grandma, who's still kicking, she's in her early 90s now, but she was a composer. She has her doctorate in music. She taught at universities in LA, but she's a concert pianist. So my mom's upbringing, everyone in her family, she's one of five kids, everyone played instruments. They all sang together, especially in church. And my mom ended up going studying musical theater at UCLA. And she also did a lot of TV and commercials. So she guest starred on multiple TV shows, Chips, Spider-Man, in the 70s. She was the Wendy's girl for Wendy's. She did commercials, hundreds of commercials. She was pretty successful, steady actress. My dad also did TV and film and soap operas. And they both went to BYU for a time, but they didn't meet there. They met in LA doing a movie. It was a TV movie of the week, and they played boyfriend, girlfriend in the movie. And you can actually see it on YouTube. I've showed my kids, and it's really fun. It's called Rivals, Rivals, and I think it's in 1981, I want to say, or yeah, around then. So this was right before I was born. And so my dad ended up being a regular on Capitol, the soap opera. And so both of my parents were really into TV, and they were pretty successful for a while. But they wanted a family, and, they're both religious, and that was always kind of what they wanted to do. They didn't want to just be, performing instead of having a family. So my dad ended up going back to school and getting a master's in business, and he still worked in the arts. He worked for CBS for a while, but he didn't perform. He wasn't in on TV anymore. My mom, on the other hand, she still did some musical theater. and my sister was born, and she did a commercial where they needed somebody like overweight to like eat ice cream, and since she had just had a baby, like it was perfect, so she still did some commercials. um, and then I was born, and then I have two younger sisters, so there were four of us. And my parents had us singing together. They really encouraged a lot of musical interactions, and we all played instruments and things. But when I was 3 years old, I was in a church talent show with my older sister, and my mom had us dressed up as orphans from Annie, the musical. So I had on a wig and freckles and a orphan costume, and we were singing songs from Annie. And when it was over, I was backstage crying because I wanted to go back on stage. Like I loved performing. I remember being on stage and the spotlight was on me. I couldn't see anybody, but I heard myself in the microphone, and I was with my sister and we were belting out tomorrow, tomorrow. And it like awakened like this really excitement within me. So that's my first experience performing. And then after that, I just constantly did musicals. So when I was 5, I played Molly and Annie at the local, it was the Culver City Children's Civic Light Opera. This is in LA. And then I did like Marta and Sound of Music, and Mrs. Mayor Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, and Rizzo's little sister in Grease, and just all kinds of roles. And I was really just quite the little character on stage. I just loved being on stage and performing and saying my lines really loud and belting out songs. And then shortly after, when I was about 9, my mom started a performing arts academy. So this was a summer camp, which that's how it started out. And every summer we did a musical, or we did a musical review. And so every summer, my entire childhood was spent performing, rehearsing, and helping with our family business. And it became kind of our main source of income. It was a business, and it lasted about, I think, 17 years. Um, in between performing at my mom's performing arts camp, I also did shows outside of that. I did a lot of dance classes. I started taking voice lessons. And then another significant time when I was a child, I was 9 years old, and my parents entered me into this Search for Talent contest. It's called the Exchange Club Search for Talent for California and Nevada. And I sang on my own. And in my age group, which was 6 to 9, and it wasn't just singers, it was pianists. And I remember like a tumbler. So there was other talents. But I kept winning each competition. And so then we'd go on to the next one. And so it got like wider and wider. So then all of a sudden the last one was the finals, and it included like Nevada as well. And I ended up winning a savings bond for when I got older. So, and huge trophies every time. So I won, and they were I was so serious singing on my own, like as this little 9-year-old, I love him, I love him. And so when the adults, the guy in charge was giving me the trophy, he made some kind of comment like, wow, she really like understands, the emotion there. And so it was kind of interesting, but I just really connected to the song. So I've just always felt like On My Own is my song. And Les Mis is what made me fall in love with theater, like more than any other show. So that's a brief background of my childhood.
You knocked out more between the time you're 9 than I probably did my whole career there. Seems like
Yeah,
it.
I packed a lot in. I was always in a show. I was always taking dance because I wanted to be on Broadway. That was my goal when I was younger, or a famous singer. I just wanted to either be a singer or be on Broadway. And I loved to dance, and I was a good dancer too. I didn't take dance all the time straight through my entire childhood. I wasn't a studio competition dancer, but I was always in a tap class or a jazz class. My mom kind of made me do ballet. That wasn't my favorite form of dance, but I took on and off throughout my whole childhood, when I could, because when you're in a musical, you rehearse basically every day, so it's hard to also dance. But I really tried to fit it in. So yeah,
Wait, wait, you didn't officially start studying voice till you were about 9 or so? Is that what you said?
yeah, so I was 9 when I did that contest, and then I started taking voice lessons, um, probably around age 13. But I was always singing, but
Yeah.
I wasn't in formal voice.
So did your mom?
There's a voice teacher.
Oh, excuse me. I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say, did your mom just give you notes sometimes when you were singing? She would say, "Well, honey, no, did you see when you did this right here? Like maybe do it this way or something like that." Did you ever get like kind of tips and pointers like that kind of thing? It wasn't
Her
officially studying
tips,
voice, but
yeah, that's a really good question. Her tips were, she didn't study voice. Like, she was a musical theater performer and actress. So she didn't know really a lot of technical things about it. She just knew like breath support and things like that. But her tips were mainly how to perform a song.
yeah,
And same with my dad. They would both kind of coach me. Like, especially for that contest when I sang on my own, I really practiced like what I was going to do with my hands, what I was thinking about in each moment. They were really more focused on my performance of it. So when I was older, I did take voice lessons to learn more about the technique. And Seth Riggs is kind of a big name. At least it was. I'm older now, but I know he had some voice teachers that kind of studied his techniques. So I studied under one of them for a while in the LA area. But I didn't take voice constantly. It was more on and off to get ready for an audition, or, you know, my parents didn't have a lot of money and there were four of us. So I wasn't always in like proper training. I just performed a lot in musicals. That was kind of my training,
yeah,
if you will.
on the job training.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, probably
Yeah.
had a lot of those things came pretty natural to you. Something like had a good, really good ear from the start, and if you really love what you're doing, I think you have a natural instinct to want people to hear what you're saying, and
Yeah.
that drives your voice out a lot by itself. Just like I want them to hear what I'm saying, and I want them to feel what I'm feeling. That peaks your performance a lot.
Yeah, I think like, just singing loudly, singing. My sisters were always complaining that I was singing, stop singing. Like, I heard that all the time. But practicing certain songs, like just singing a lot. And in church, we sang a lot together with like harmonies, but I'm the main one that was like more of a solo singer. But yeah, I was always singing. But I really kind of put a box around my voice. I thought I could do one thing and one thing only really well. And I was really insecure about other parts of my voice. And I didn't even want to attempt to sing songs in that technique until I got to college. And that's when I really expanded my training. So, because as a kid, I just thought, oh, I'm a belter. I can sing loud, and I can't sing those high soprano songs. I just want to sing on my own and like Annie and things like that. And I had
Yeah,
a really big voice, but I didn't have the really high, strong range that I developed later on. So yeah.
right. Yeah. So, so then when you got college, um, there was a active kind of was it a theater group in college or something there that you said you were,
Yeah. 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 So I got into the music dance theater program at BYU, which was my goal. I wanted to go to BYU. That's where my parents had gone. That's where I went to different camps there in the summers, like throughout high school. And it just seemed like a place I wanted to go. They had a really good musical theater program. It was really competitive. So I was really excited when I got in as a freshman. And when I got there, I realized how much I didn't know. And it was kind of hard for me at first. And it was hard the whole time, actually. But one of the high points for me was there was a performing group mostly made up of majors, but not all of them were music, dance, theater majors. But it was a singer dancer group with about 12 women, 12 men, college students. And I did that my sophomore and junior year. And the big solo that I got, it was a musical review, singing and dancing. So there was a section on Les Mis, there was like a section on Oklahoma, and with a lot of costume changes. And it was just really, really fun. And we toured around to different cities, and we did a Brazil Argentina tour in the spring of my junior year. And the big solo that I got was I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis. So that was kind of funny because it was kind of a full circle moment, because yeah, Les Mis is my show, even though I've never even been in it. But so I Dreamed a Dream, and I felt really confident in that. And I made so many connections in that group and from BYU. Um, but there were a lot of growing pains because that's when I was starting to learn just different techniques on singing and how to sing like just very correctly. And I didn't have the best habits because I didn't have a ton of training. But I had the voice, I had the instrument, but it needed to be refined. And I was really insecure, when I was younger. I was really insecure, even though I was a performer, I loved being on stage. I was still really insecure. So my time at BYU, I learned a lot. I made a ton of connections, but the things that I'm still letting sink in all these years later, some of the techniques I learned, and every day I feel like I'm trying to make my voice even more refined. And, if things just sink in years later, it's like when you sleep on something, when you learn it, your brain is mush, you go to sleep, and the next day it clicked. That's kind of how it is with all the voice training I got at BYU. In the moment, it was like I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know how to do it. I was way too nervous to do it. But now it's just interesting how that worked. But anyway.
I'd love to hear you say that, because to me, this like the true amateur is not to say somebody who's not good enough to be professional. It means somebody who really loves what they do. And the fact that, even though it's real easy to settle into thing, you get some amount of experience and you start thinking there isn't anything else for you to learn. But when you're a true amateur, it's a whole process of learning. And it's like, same thing for me. Is like, yeah, I had learned some techniques with my voice tier and stuff. And I always kind of wondered at the time, does she really know what she's talking about? But I would keep it up, and sure enough, everything she said was true. I mean, I had much bigger range than I thought, and things came so much easier, and I didn't have to, struggle so hard to reach high notes and all that kind of stuff. All came, but it was a refinement process, just like you're saying. I mean, there's been times, I don't know how many years after I started, I'll be singing something, I went, having that aha moment. It's like, oh my God, this is what she was talking about.
Yeah. And also, like, you're not always in like a mental place to absorb those things. Sometimes like you're worried about so many other things in your life. Like college was a lot. It was a lot of work. I was involved in so many things. I wasn't really like able to like just focus on certain things that I wish I could have, like it was hard for me to absorb certain things at that time. Whereas later, that's when I was ready to let that sink in, So I think that like if the desire's there and you're ready and able and willing to learn, it's going to sink in a lot faster than if you're distracted and
Yeah.
dealing with, college is overwhelming. So anyway.
So sounds like you made a lot of good connections going to college, and somewhere along the line, somebody, I don't know if that was something they did normally, but I know you got recruited. Your groups got recruited to be on cruise ships and stuff too. It's like, most people got to go and find out where you audition and go through this whole process, but you guys got recruited, so that says a lot about the skill level you guys are putting out there, and it really caught the interest of people who find things for entertainment for cruise ships and things like that.
Yeah, at BYU and also Utah in general, there's a lot of talent. And I know certain companies, I don't know if they still do, but they used to come out like every year to hold auditions. And kids from all over Utah would come to BYU to audition for the cruise ships or even our tour. I did the national tour of 42nd Street, and I got that because they came to Salt Lake to hold auditions. So I got the cruise ship and the tour and my first regional theater, all from BYU. I still had to audition, but they just I was ready and to hit the ground running basically after BYU. I didn't like I keep saying I was insecure and I had to learn a lot still. I was still good enough to get those jobs. But, I wouldn't have played a lead role in a certain genre back then, whereas I could probably do that now because my voice has gotten better in that arena. But back then I was all ready to be a singer dancer on a cruise ship and all ready to be ensemble and understudy in 42nd Street. And then at Tuacahn, which is in St. George, they hold auditions, up at BYU. I was Belle, understudy in Beauty and the Beast. And I got to be in some cool ensemble stuff and Joseph. And anyway, so it was like my first, professional experience. I did some shows in high school that everyone around me was getting paid, but because was in high school, I wasn't getting paid. But those were really professional experiences too, and some regional theaters in LA. But my first paid gig was right after BYU.
So 42nd Street, that's like, wasn't that one of the biggest dance ensembles on stage of its time, pretty much?
Yeah, huge dance show.
Yeah.
A lot of tap. It was super fun.
At the time, I never really had to sing and dance at the same time. Well, I didn't have a lot of dance experience, so that played into it, of course. But it's just that's where a lot of musical theater is, though. It's like if you're going to do that, you need to be, the triple threat, so to speak. You got to be able to do all that stuff.
You're going to get more work the more skills you have. So like if I didn't tap, but I did other dance, I wouldn't have gotten into 42nd Street, So the more skills you can have, the more jobs you'll get. And if your goal is to work in the field for as much and long as possible, then you're going to be better off with more skills, There's so many really talented people that just do like one thing, and there's just not going to be as much opportunity for that, even though they're amazing at that,
The opera luckily wasn't, which I did more things often than not. Well, we would stage things like the gavotte and these old dances, which were pretty easy to knock out, really, because they just weren't as dynamic as musical theater is very dynamic, and there's a lot more to that. But at least, so I mean, I was able to hold that together anyway, but because we had choreographers and that sort of thing. So. But anyway, so recently too, you got even since we had our last interview, you've been picking up on you're two things. One of them is you're in this group, I guess, that performs from time to time, and even sometimes tour. Aren't they? Is it like they do a lot of the real beautiful kind of stacked harmony types of songs of yesteryear? And how's that going? By the way, you still active with that?
It's a little bit on hold right now. There was a death in the producers circle, so things are like slowed down a little bit, but it's still in the works. But yeah, since being a mom, which I have 3 kids now, they're starting school on Monday. I have a junior, freshman, and 5th grader. But since having kids, I perform here and there when I can. So I was able to be in a 70s tribute show, and we perform here and there at different theaters, like in Texas or California. We'll travel like for the weekend, and it's a 4-person performance, and it's super fun. We do the Carpenters, ABBA, the Fifth Dimension, and the Mamas and Papas. So that's been a really fun outlet for me to still be able to perform. And I'm also doing different tribute shows. So I'm fairly new to Las Vegas. And I don't have a lot of connections, but I've made a few, and so I was able to fill in a few times for Cher and Olivia Newton-John in a tribute show. So that was really, really fun. I haven't done tribute shows until I moved here because that's what Las Vegas has a lot of. But yeah, musical theater was always kind of my background, but I love performing and it's been really fun. It's really funny that everything's like 70s, you know, it's my mom's era. Um, but it's beautiful singing. Like, I love the harmonies, like you're saying, the Carpenters, and
Yeah.
it's been really nice. I love performing. It's been a perfect thing for me. So,
I was in a briefly vocal jazz ensemble at a local community college, and they did madrigals there. I was under choir, but then this thing popped out. We're doing more have a jazz ensemble group, and I thought, why not? You know, expand my range, or whatever.
mhm.
And we got into the fifth dimension, and that was way more sophisticated than I thought it was. I thought, what's pop music? How hard can it be? But it's like, man, they chart that stuff, and they got switches up and keys and rhythms and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. It's like there's pretty awesome music, really. And I think we used that as a competition at a World's Fair. We used one of their songs in them.
that's cool. Yeah, it's really like actual music that is intricate and it's fun. It's a lot of harmonies and it's different than music that's being made nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, it's surprising how
So,
it's kind of like in the jazz era of things, how sophisticated the music was. They wrote charts and all these tight harmonies and all these instruments, like a bands and it was pretty sophisticated. And when I made the switch into more rock and roll, yeah, it was a lot less sophisticated, but it had fewer instruments and all that kind of stuff that went along with it.
mhm.
But things like Fifth Dimension, they were like they're still pretty dynamic in terms of their musicality and all that kind of stuff. I always thought so.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd never even heard of them until I started performing them.
And
So,
that something? I saw an interview with them one time, and it was actually I think I read it was about an interview and stuff, but they were like touring all over, and it's just they'd all grown so accustomed to each other, and they're grumbling about each other, and the things that they would constantly repeat and say, and but they were still doing it, they were still touring anyway.
that's cool. Yeah, it's neat.
So also having kids and all that kind of thing, you really piqued my interest one time when you'd said something about their I know it was one particular, the youngest one or something was singing, and you just kind of thought, I think we can do stand with some ear train or something like that here. That sounds like a good mom, that really wants to prepare people at an early age before they start forming all these attitudes about what they should or should not do. And just get some good ear training, right?
Yeah, I really wanted my kids to have a kind of a base, a musical base. You know, when I was little, probably 3 or 4, we had a music class, and my mom and her sister did it for me and my cousins, and we would play the tambourine, and we'd, play the little drum to the beat and sing songs. And I was moving around a lot with my husband's jobs at the time, and I was just trying to figure out what to do. So I found this program called Let's Play Music, and there's teachers all over the states that become certified, and then they can teach like out of their home usually. And it's a really good program. It's full musicianship. So by the end, they're playing piano, but it's not just about piano. It's about ear training, rhythm, just everything that you need to have any kind of basis to do music at all, like when you're older. And you have to do it within the ages of 4 to 7. You have to start the program then, because that's when the brain is like the peak development for that. So yeah, all of my kids did the program, and then they kept doing piano after that. Now only one of them is doing piano still, but the other ones are still doing other things like singing and things like that. And the reason I started doing that program was because one of my kids wasn't singing on pitch. And I kind of freaked out. I'm like, how is this happening? So that's why I started the program. And I have to say they can sing perfectly on pitch now. And I do think that a lot of it was the ear training. It's because you have to sing like, a middle C. You just have to pick it out and just sing it. So they're all like have a good strong base now in music, and whatever they want to do, I'm not pushing anything on them, really, but I just wanted them to have that opportunity. So, and everywhere we moved, I had to find a teacher in a new city. So we had like 4 different Let's Play Music teachers, but the curriculum is so spot on and specific that like they didn't miss a beat, with all the moving we did. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, that's an excellent thing.
Yeah, I felt really lucky that they got to do that program.
Yeah, I remember for me, it was kind of like, so my mom was a really good singer. I mean, beautiful singer, and unfortunately, a lot of people never got a chance to really hear her sing because she was so shy, And
Mm.
she was given a. They recognized her talent early on, and they gave her a solo to do, and she was so shy she didn't want to do it, but she was too shy to tell them no. And when it came her time to sing, the spotlight hit her. She threw up and ran off stage, and that was the end of her career right there. And never
Oh,
set foot on stage again because it just, broke her, so much because she didn't want to do it in the first place, so she wasn't strong enough to, you know, do that,
honestly, yeah, honestly, Jack, like I can relate to that. So I get extremely nervous. Um, Now, that being said, it's gotten better for me over the years, and I feel like I've finally reached a point in my life where it doesn't overtake me to where I can't even perform, But auditions in the past, like I'm not good at auditions because I get so nervous. My voice is shaky. I have no confidence. It's something that I've dealt with my whole life. So I'm good on stage. I get the butterflies, but like once the curtain opens, I'm fine. But auditions and also performing in like small settings where I'm not on stage with a spotlight in my eyes. That's one of the stories I told myself was like, I can only perform on stage with a spotlight, So if I was at someone's house and they're like, oh, Val, you should sing us a song, I would be freaking out. And just wasn't good at that. And I didn't want to. And I would feel like I was going to throw up. So now it's gotten better because I've just realized like life's too short to even think about that. Like just sing, just do it. But I've come a long way with that. And yeah.
Well, I had one of my segments. I addressed this on the Mastering the Art of Singing, and I was just talking about that. And it's kind of like, but this is a thing. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're not good. It's just people who are singers have big hearts, and when you open up your heart, it's also vulnerable, and that vulnerability really everything hits the fan. When your heart's open like that. And I was really surprised and yet not surprised that uh, Judy Judy Garland, as incredible as a talent she was on stage, and she had beautiful voice as well. But she just was so talented that she suffered terribly from stage fright, and it used to be all that she could do to just get out on stage. And when she did, she was okay, but it was like getting there. It was really tough for her. And I heard that, and I thought, you know what? I'm not surprised because that is kind of goes with the territory. It's kind of what they call it occupational hazard. It's like she gave her whole heart when she was singing. I just liked her so much because how much she just gave of herself when she would sing and
Yeah.
perform.
Yeah.
So many terrible things happened to her. She just put them all aside and just sang her heart out, every time.
Yeah. I think and that goes with so many things. Like my husband now is like an MMA type jujitsu person. And every time he competes, he's really good, but he is so nervous. He has to do like this whole thing where he breathes a certain way and doesn't want to do it. Every time he says, why am I doing this? Why did you let me do this? It's like, I feel like anyone that's good at something, it almost just comes with the territory, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to be able to get past that to accomplish something cool. It's like
yeah.
cool things that you do, accomplishments that you have, like it takes effort that people don't always see. They just think, oh, you're good at that. They don't think, oh, like that took a lot of practice, that took a lot of courage to do. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean it's easy to do it necessarily.
It's,
So
it's to say too that I think performing on stage also when you are able to deal with these things, your performances rise to a higher level than than if you sing alone or anything like that. I kind of I sort of used the analogy, I guess it was kind of like you're a surfer. If you're just puddling around the pool, you're not having much of an experience. But when that tide comes in, it's like if you ride that tide and you ride it high, I mean, it's going to take you to heights like you've never seen before. But you got to, know how to go with it. It's kind of like, hey, don't fight it. You just have to kind of go with it and let it carry you up. And I watched
That's so true.
I
Wow.
watch a lot of people on these talent shows perform sometimes, and you can see that very thing. Suddenly they're doing stuff. I could tell they're kind of shocked that they're able to do what they do because that enormous tide, they've just gotten a handle on it, and I'm always rooting for them when I see that. It's like for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to teach my kids that now, like if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you're never going to know what could happen. Like you're going to fail at everything that you don't try. So why not at least try,
Yeah,
But it's really scary, and a lot of times it just has to come, that lesson just comes when you're ready to learn it. It's like
yeah,
can't just say it over and over again. They have to experience it. But it's hard because you want to encourage people to do hard things, but you also feel like, yeah, they could fail,
yeah,
but it's better to try.
most definitely.
Yeah.
So what's in the works for you now? Anything? I know you're is it in hiatus now, or is the share Olivia Newton-John thing kind of over for the time being, or is it?
So yeah, so there's different things. Because of that job that I got, I made some other connections. So I might be, backup singing with different things in Las Vegas. And there's another show, the Elton John show, that I might be able to fill in for. But I'm just taking it slow. I'm not in any rush. I love performing. So I like to kind of always keep myself open for opportunities, but I'm not pursuing it like full time. We have a martial arts gym now. I have another part-time job, so I'm busy. I have the kids, and I've just kind of recognized that singing and performing, that's something I'm always going to love and do when I can. But it's not right at this point in my life. I'm not actively trying to do
Yeah,
as much of it as I can.
but you
So,
got your foot
um,
foot in the water, so to speak. So you kind of like things still come around and come your way, and things that's good. You can kind of pick and choose a little bit for how much involvement you want to get into and things. So that's good to hear.
Exactly. And I've always tried to keep my voice in shape, and I've tried to keep my body in shape so that when opportunities do come, I'm not just like, "Oh no, I don't perform anymore. I'm a mom." I want to be able to do both. So that was kind of my priority throughout the years of me having kids. Was, get back into shape as soon as I can. I love being a mom, but I also want to have opportunities. So over the years, even with the kids, I've done some really cool regional theaters where I got to be in Cats and a chorus line in my late 30s, which was amazing that I finally got to do like two of my dream dance shows when I was one of the oldest ones in the cast. But that was because I was, ready to go, and I was there when the opportunity presented itself. So that's kind of always been my thought is be ready, be grateful when it comes, but I just don't need to do it as much as I used to,
Yeah,
you know?
were you the cat that sang memories?
No, I was Demeter. So I sang McCavity. It's
Yeah.
a really fun song. Really fun. Yeah.
I didn't even watch that show from all the way from one to the other and the end of the other. It's just caught that one song stuck out so much. They were doing. I saw something that was kind of like excerpts from. Kind of like, oh, that's
Yeah.
where that show came. That's where that song came from. I had no idea. I heard some singer
Oh,
sing that song. Olivia something or other was her name, but anyway,
oh yeah. It's a good song.
she sang that song at some concert or something I listened to. It was so pretty.
It is. It's a beautiful song.
So, well, anyway. So, if there was one thing you would like to share with somebody who's starting out that you kind of wished you'd known earlier on that might have either advanced you quicker or just improved on your skills or whatever, anything like that. I know you've got a lot of experience to draw from there, and you did actually do a lot of things. So, but if there was anything you might add, to particularly a new person starting up, what
Yeah.
piece of advice you might have?
Yeah. Yeah. I would have some advice. I would say for sure, it takes time. So don't put a time limit on when you're going to be successful. Be in it for the long run. I would also say um, be patient. Don't think that, things are going to happen overnight. I would say there looks like it looks like there could be a lot of competition, but you need to focus on your talent and what you can bring to the table rather than thinking like, oh, there's already so many people in this industry, they don't need another one. It really just depends on what's in your heart. So if performing and singing is what makes you you, like to the core, then pursue it. But if you like to sing, but like you could do something else, do something else and just sing for fun. So I don't know. There's a lot because people put a lot of pressure on themselves to make it. There's so many definitions of making it. Like people might look at me and say, "Oh, wow, she did a cruise ship," but I'm looking at the person that's done a Broadway show and saying that they made it. So there's different, ideas and opinions on like what success looks like. And so you kind of have to just figure it out for yourself. Like what are my goals? What do I want to do? Do I want to get paid to sing? Does it matter where? I'm just going to sing and get paid, then I've made it, right? Or is it I want to be on Broadway, or I want a record deal, or so be patient, be in it for the long run. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is a lot of advice.
Yeah, things you need.
Yeah, but another thing is, if you put too much pressure on yourself to make it, then you might get burnt out and really frustrated and just never want to do it again. So if you had like another source of income while you're trying to pursue it on the side, that takes the pressure off of how am I going to pay my bills, right? And then you can take your time to develop your connections, your relationships with, people in the business. Just find a way to make it work for you, so
Yep.
yeah.
Keep in mind that Han Solo was a carpenter. His skill was he always made his living doing carpentry work whenever he could, and he did his acting whenever he could until they got the big break as Han Solo. Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
we're talking about here anyway. So.
Yeah, if you're going into an audition like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this, I can't pay my rent, then you're not going to do very well at the audition because like way too much pressure is riding on it. And that's I've been in that situation before when I was in New York. So you want to make your life work for you, find ways to be able to support yourself and keep pursuing it. And just, if you do something every day to work on it, it's going to work if you keep doing it. It takes time. It takes a lot of time for some people. Everyone's different.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time, and appreciate your all the things you've shared today. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to benefit this. We kind of keep an eye on the demographics on who watches these channels, and honestly, it's a pretty even split across the ages. But I always try to gauge it towards specifically new people. But then there's a lot of people who are just kind of out there and spinning their wheels, and they're kind of going, "What am I going to do now? Maybe I need to rethink this or find another direction, whatever." And that's all. Those two things are kind of what we try to just throw stuff out there to help give people tools and things to help them on their way. So.
Yeah, and it's tricky. It's hard to always know what to do, but you follow your instincts, and if you give up, then that's it. You're not gonna succeed. So if you just keep trying, and connections is a big thing. Find people that are doing what you want to do. Writing down your goals, it's going to be a lot more clear in your head what you're working towards. And there's so many options of ways to make it as a singer. There's so many ways, right? So yeah, follow your instincts.
All right. Well, thanks again, Valerie, so much.
Thank you.
And good luck
Thanks for having me.
all things you do in the future. Good break a leg.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Hey.
Bye.
Ciao, guys. Everybody for now. Ciao, ciao.